am back with part 3 of my Throughout the Years series, and this is grade 1. So, as I mentioned before, I went to a French preschool and then I went to English kindergarten. Now that I was in grade 1, my mom was like, okay, French immersion. So I had to change schools again. Went to a different school than all of my kindergarten friends and went to this French immersion school. And one thing I really remember about this school is the school is like just around the corner from my house. So I would always walk, but it was like the only French immersion school in my town. So anyone who wanted to do French immersion had went to this one school. So there were buses and everyone I knew was bused. And I was the only person or one of just a couple people who had to walk to school and didn't have to take a bus. And part of me was buses kind of freaked me out, so I was ugh. But at the same time, I was oh, I wish I could take a bus. Everyone else gets to take a bus. I'm so jealous. Because my mom used to walk me and the 2 dogs. She would take the dogs for a walk in the morning and just walk me to school and then come and pick me up after school. It was really fun. That was the year I went to Portugal that spring for the 3rd time. I went twice when I was 3 and when I was 5, and then I went that spring when I was 7. And I don't know why it was okay for me to miss 3 weeks of school, but it was. And I remember the day we flew home, we flew home on a Sunday, from Portugal back here. And that Sunday was Mother's Day. And so I guess, I don't know if Mother's Day actually was a week earlier in Portugal, if my parents just told me that, so that we could celebrate Mother's Day a week earlier and not worry about the fact that we were spending actual Mother's Day on a plane. But in my mind, in my memory, Mother's Day was a week earlier in Portugal. So anyway, when I got back to class the next Monday, the teacher was wanted all of us to tell the story of what we did for Mother's Day. And people were oh, I did this and I did that. And she got to me and I was well, I spent yesterday all day on an airplane and in airports and driving and on an airplane. And she was the teacher obviously knew I'd been gone for 3 weeks. So she was oh, you didn't do anything to celebrate Mother's Day? And I was no, not yesterday. Then I was but Mother's Day's a week earlier in Europe, which again, I don't know if my parents just told me that or if that's actually true. But I was oh, well, Mother's Day was a week earlier in Portugal, so this is what we did. And I remember thinking that I was really cool for that. What else happened in grade 1? Yeah, I had to go to a new school. I learned French. And I remember grade 1 was all French, we didn't do any English. I mean, the teacher spoke English, and if there was some sort of situation where they needed us to understand something and they were saying it in French, we weren't getting it, they would say it to us in English. But we didn't have English class or anything. All of our classes, everything we learned was in French. And I could not communicate with my parents that year because every word that I knew was French. So I'd be out walking the dogs with my mom and I'd want to say something oh, the moon is really big today, but I couldn't remember how to say moon in English. I'd be oh, la lune, which is how you say moon in French, is really grand tonight. That was probably terrible French, but you know what I mean? I couldn't, half of my sentences were in French. I was so confused that year. I didn't know any English words, but I knew all these French words. And my mom speaks enough French that she could be she could figure out what I was trying to say. My dad doesn't speak any French, so that was the weird year for, I don't think I talked to my dad that year at all because he could not understand crazy Shauna. What happened in grade 1? Not much of anything, I guess, if I don't remember. I was the tallest girl in my class. That was fun. I was the tallest girl in my class until grade 5. I was always really tall, and now I'm just kind of average. 5'9", so I guess I'm kind of still tall, but I'm not that tall. I was really tall in elementary school, though. I think I kept growing until I was 11, and then I just stopped growing since I was 11. That's probably not true. I thought I had more memories of grade 1, but obviously I don't. That's kind of embarrassing. Yeah, I don't really remember anything else that happened in grade 1, other than I went to Portugal and we celebrated Mother's Day on the wrong day. And I feel like Mother's Day and my parents' anniversary was the same day that year. Parents' anniversary was at the end of April. I feel we just kind of combined all of those. Grade 1 was a pretty good year. I don't have any bad memories from grade 1, so that's something. Sorry this video was so boring. I thought I had more memories of grade 1, but I don't. Grade 2 will be good. I have some good memories of grade 2. So yeah, I guess that's all I have for grade 1. Sorry. I feel like other videos are gonna be so long and this one was so short. I just don't really remember anything from grade 1. My bad. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later.